students, welcome to today's lesson. This is Geography for Grade 9 revision program. In the previous lesson, we have seen the major determinant factor for the distribution of pressure, altitude and temperature. When altitude increase, pressure decrease, or pressure decrease within an increasing of altitude. Temperature also another factor which affects the distribution of pressure. When the temperature high, the air expand, then the density and the pressure decrease. But when the temperature low, the air contract, the density and the pressure becomes high. We have seen also the global pressure belt regions of the world. For instance, the equatorial low pressure belt or the doldrum region. These regions are located 5 degrees north and south. The tropical high pressure belt or the horst latitude regions are located between 30 up to 35 degrees north and south. In this region, there is high pressure because pressure depends on the rotation and the movement of air. Wind blow from the doldrum or the equatorial low pressure belt rises and accumulated here in the tropical high pressure or the horst latitude regions. We have seen also the subpolar low pressure belt regions and the polar high regions. The polar high regions are found nearly north and south poles. In this region, there is high permanent pressure known as the polar high. We have seen also the three types of wind: planetary winds, monsoon winds, and local winds, the difference between them. Planetary winds are winds cover a larger area of the Earth's surface. It's closely associated to the global pressure belts. The most common planetary winds are trade winds, westerly winds, and easterly winds, all of them found in the northern and southern hemisphere. We have seen also the monsoon winds. Monsoon winds are winds occur seasonally. These winds are common in South and Southeastern Asia. The seasonal change in the direction of wind caused by unequal heating between land and water surface. We have seen also about local winds. Local winds cover smaller area of the Earth's surface. It occurs for a short period of time. Local winds are caused by the nature of the physical features of the area. The main local winds are land and sea breeze, mountain and valley breeze. We have seen also the formation of clouds. Clouds are formed by the condensation of water vapor below the dew point in the atmosphere. There are different types of cloud based on their shape and heights, or in addition to their appearance. They divided into three levels: high level clouds, middle level clouds, and the lower level clouds. High level clouds are cirrocumulus, cirrus, cirrostratus, which are found up to 13 kilometers. The middle level clouds are altocumulus, altostratus, nimbocumulus, which are found up to 7 kilometers above the sea level. The low level clouds are stratus, cumulus, cumulonimbus, which are found up to 2000 meters or 2 kilometers. This is all about the previous lesson. Today we are going to discuss control of weather and climate, and at the end of this lesson you will be able to realize the controlling factor for weather and climate. Students, are you ready to start the lesson? Good. The energy that the Earth receives from the sun is not evenly distributed. There are different factors for this uneven distribution of temperature. These are latitude, altitude, distance from the sea, cloud cover, ocean current, planetary winds and pressure, and so on. These are the factors which affect the amount of temperature reached to the surface of the Earth. Let us start our discussion from latitude. Latitude is an imaginary line which draws horizontally west to east or east to west from equator. equator also an imaginary line which divided the Earth into two equal parts, northern and southern hemisphere. When the sun rays reach to the surface of the Earth at right angle, then the amount of insolation or solar radiation becomes high. But when the sun rays reach slanting or oblique, especially the two polar regions, then the amount of insolation or solar radiation becomes low. Thus, latitudes are the most important determinant factor for the amount of heat reaching to the surface of the Earth. At the equator, the amount of insolation or solar radiation is high. Based on the above lesson, when the sun rays reach at right angle, then the amount of insolation becomes high. But at the polar region, the solar rays reach slanting or oblique, especially to the polar region, then the amount of insolation becomes low. The sun is overhead twice a year for 6 months between equator and the two tropics, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. For instance, on June 21st, the sun directly overhead at the Tropic of Cancer. We call this June solstice. Similarly, on December 21st, the sun overhead at the Tropic of Capricorn. We call this December solstice. Between the two months, March and September, the sun overhead at the equator. We call this equinox. Let's proceed to the other factor which affect the amount of temperature, that is altitude. When altitude increase, temperature decrease. For every when altitude increase, temperature similarly decrease. For every 1000 meter, temperature decrease by 6.4 degrees Celsius. This is what is known as normal lapse rate. The Ethiopian highland regions are good example for this because they can show that the effect of altitude on temperature. For example, if the altitude of the given mountain reaches 4070 meters above the sea level and the temperature 20 degrees Celsius, so what is the temperature at the top of the mountain? In order to get the amount of temperature at the top of the mountain, first we have to get the lapse rate of 4070 meters. For every 1000 meter, temperature decrease by 6.4 degrees Celsius. So what will be the lapse rate of 4070 meter? 4070 meter. So we have to crisscross this 4070 meter times 6.4 degrees Celsius over 1000 meter. Meter by meter cancel, 10 by 10 cancel. So finally we get 2604.8 degrees Celsius over 100. Then finally we get 26.04 degrees Celsius. This is the lapse rate of 4070 meter. Now we have to subtract from the temperature at the sea level, that is 20 degrees Celsius minus 26.04 degrees Celsius. Finally, we can get minus 6, nearly 0.5 is the temperature at the top of the mountain. Let's see the effect of distance from the sea. Due to its nature, the land is quickly warmer than water bodies and it loses quickly its temperature. This is because of the transparency of water reflection from the water surface, evaporation, mixing, and current in water. All these are factor causes for the rapid temperature change on the land than water bodies. As a result, coastal regions are cooler than inland regions. Cloud cover also has an effect on the amount of temperature. This is because it reduces the amount of solar radiation reaching to the surface of the Earth. It also affects the radiation reflected from the land. Ocean current also has an effect on the amount of temperature. It is a horizontal movement of ocean caused by the wind and difference in temperature. Whether the current is warm or cold, it used as a regulator of temperature on the Earth's surface. For instance, the warm ocean current used as the warming effect for the nearby regions. Similarly, the cold ocean currents provide cooling effect for the nearby regions. Let's see this map. These blue arrows indicate that the cold ocean currents. The red arrows indicate the warm ocean currents. For example, the Southwest Africa, the nearby the Namibia desert gets cooling effect by the Benguela ocean currents. In addition to the warming and the cooling effects, ocean currents globally play a great role in the determination of precipitation. This is because the sun can easily evaporate warm water than cool water. As a result, the land nearby the warm ocean currents can get high amount of precipitation. But the land nearby the cold ocean currents get a less or little amount of precipitation. This is the effect of ocean currents bringing warming or cooling effect in addition to providing precipitation to the nearby regions. Winds indirectly affect the amount of temperature by changing the place of temperature. There are two ways by which wind affects the distribution of temperature. The first one is winds carry temperature from one place to another place. The second one, winds blow the surface layer of a body of water in the direction of their flow. In this way, the winds have the effect of raising the temperature of the shore towards which the wind is blowing and lowering the temperature of the opposite shore. These are the major factors which affect the amount of temperature on the Earth's surface. Students, now it's time to perform some activities based on the discussion. So try to do these activities. You have a few minutes. Welcome back, students. Did you perform all the activities correctly? Well done. Let's check your answers together. Equatorial region gets or receive high amount of insolation or solar radiation because the sun rays reach to the surface of the earth at right angle. But the polar region receive low amount of insolation or solar radiation because the sun rays in this region reaching slanting or oblique. Answer for the second question. Ocean currents play a great role in determining the amount of precipitation on the Earth's surface in addition to warming and cooling effect to the nearby regions. Students, were all your answers correct? Good job. Students, this is all about for today. We have seen the controlling factor of weather and climate. Thank you.